dimensional level that you move up in connection, like if I was to say I'm going to generalize here, but most loved ones kind of come down to 5D frequency, 6D frequency when they're communicating, right? So they're up wherever they want to be. And then they kind of lower their frequency, mediums up their frequency. And it's when we hit that match point is when we can communicate, right? Mm-hmm. And so it was a lot easier for me to just pop up here after and pop up into higher ones as well to connect with different kinds of light beings and you name it. And which brought about more channeling. And I mean, that's a whole different ball game. So yeah, definitely changed it.
Hey there, beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie, and we are back at it again for another episode of Living Life Consciously. I have a very special tuned-in guest for you lined up for today, and I am stoked to get started. So without further ado, Justin, say hey.
Hey there, Cosmic Thrill Seekers. I'm Justin. This is Living Life Consciously, where we explore the extraordinary, ride the waves of inspiration, and embark on an adventure of limitless curiosity together. Leslie, you want to say hi?
Yes, I'm Leslie, your co-host, also known as Light Being, Love, an eternal spiritual being having a temporary human experience. And I'm very excited to have Ginette Biro with us here. The lovely Ginette, would you like to say hello?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm so excited to talk with all of you today. Can't wait.
We are so excited for this. All right, so for our audience, meet Ginette Biro, a powerful medium with the ability to hear, see, feel, and know information from spirits and other dimensions. With nearly 2 decades of experience, Ginette channels beings from the 4th to the 12th dimensions and helps guide others through life's most profound journeys. She's had a near-death experience that has given her unique insight into the soul's paths and life's true blueprint. From the spiritual realm to the physical world, Ginette blends her scientific background with her deep spiritual wisdom, helping people tap into their soul's true potential. She's also an author, talented singer, and humanitarian who's traveled the world, performed for the Canadian Armed Forces, and received prestigious Humanitarian of the Year award in 2009. Get ready to dive deep as Ginette shares her powerful experiences, insights from the spirit world, and her mission to help guide humanity during this time of ascension. Ginette, thank you so much for being here with us. I'm so excited.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Absolutely. Leslie, kick us off.
All right. So, Ginette, can you share your near-death experience and how it reshaped your understanding of life, death, and the soul's journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So the interesting thing with my NDE is that I was already a working medium before that happened. So I was, I had a decade of reading time under my belt already. It was all kind of word of mouth, and I didn't really promote it. I didn't really talk much about it, kind of kept it under the radar. But this NDE started to it didn't start, it happened, and I'll explain that in a minute, but it radically changed the way in which I then agreed to be present on this planet. It was just this opportunity of are you going to step up and speak and share what you know, or are you going to just kind of stay in the safety of word of mouth and, do your thing? Neither of them being wrong, but what are you going to choose? Okay. And, clearly I chose to come back and talk about it. But what was interesting about that experience for me was, before it happened, I already believed in the other side. Obviously, I was a medium, and there was thousands of stories already and validations and all of this. But there was something so significant about being there on the other side. And I literally knew where I was when I landed. So I'll jump into the story of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in 2019, I had a surgery to, help me feel better. I had really nasty periods. A lot of women go through that. It's brutal. So we got to the point of surgery to help me kind of move on.
Okay.
And when I went under, just before I was about to go under, I had this excitement, like I can't even express. Like I'm talking excitement of if you were going on a trip to Bali or if you were going somewhere like warm or tropical, or like if you're a kid, this is how I always explain it, because it's this pureness of like, you know, when you were a kid and you're waiting to go down the water slide and you're like sitting in it, holding on, waiting for the attendant to say go, like that anticipation. That was a feeling I had when they were wheeling me into the OR.
Wow.
And so when they put me under, I instantly landed on the other side. And I knew it. Like I knew it that I landed on the other side. I could feel my bare feet on the grass. And I was walking up this kind of sort of hill. And it was the most beautiful grass I'd ever seen. It was like vivid green, and I could zero in on the grass if I wanted to, just because I wanted to. Right.
Okay.
And I could see the detail, and I could feel it under my feet. And then I remember looking up at the blue sky, and it was this like perfect summer blue sky. Like, you know, that like amazing summer blue sky. And I knew where I was. And that was the thing that really got me, was like landing there. You can't doubt where you are. It wasn't like an astral travel. It wasn't like a mediumship conversation where they either showed me something or I felt something. It was me literally being there.
You were physically there.
I was
Or
physically
astrally
there.
there. Some form of
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, like I was there. And so I walked up this kind of hill thing and happened upon this really beautiful kind of like summer barbecue type picnic scene.
Okay.
And it's not what I would have thought I would have chosen. I would have thought I would have landed on a tropical island if that was like my image of the afterlife.
Okay.
Yeah, me
But
too.
I ended, yeah, right? But I ended up in this like beautiful summer scene, and all of my family and friends that had passed already were there, and I could see the picnic table covers, and there was food. And then there was tons of people coming in, almost like through a portal, but not coming in from lives before, like past lives. And I spent what felt like hours, like a whole day visiting, giving hugs to people from this lifetime to one's lifetimes before. And each one that I talked to, it felt like we were just picking up where we left off last. It was like, what have you been doing?
Okay.
What's been going on since, you know, our journey, who knows where, right? And it was amazing. It was the most amazing reunions, and this like feeling of bliss, but not bliss in excess. Like I always want to explain this part. It's not bliss in excess. Like we think on this planet, we think blissed out, like maximum bliss. It wasn't. It was like harmonious. It was this energy of perfection, joy in its most perfect state.
Ooh,
right?
That sounds lovely.
Yeah.
That does sound
So-
lovely.
Right?
doesn't it?
Yeah, right? It really was. And so I spent all that time there. And then when that was complete, my grandmother, who's on the other side, she then took me to this, what I call the room of the blueprints. And we went to a completely different place. And I was basically where, at the edge of the universe, where the universe is creating itself. And it's the only way I can explain it. And I was in this white room with this giant white boardroom table. I had my council around me. And they rolled out these blueprints that literally looked like blueprints that we would see on our planet here of like buildings and stuff. And they rolled it out. And it was my personal blueprint. And I used to always explain the soul's journey as like a tapestry, right? Like we have this tapestry and, you know, we weave the tapestry and whatever, but they showed it like a blueprint. And so we basically did a life review up until the point in which I was with them right then.
Okay.
And I could tell on this blueprint that there was this energetic line running down the center of it, this horizontal line that had this kind of like pulsing iridescent energy to it. And I knew that that meant I was still alive.
Oh.
But it was at that point when we got to, you know, everything up until then that they asked me for the first time if I wanted to stay or go. And I was like, oh, well, I want to go back to Earth and I have things I want to do. And I never felt like pressured or panicked or like it was an ultimatum. It was completely my choice. But I knew I wanted to come back for like my family and my kids, but also for this like purpose. And so this is what's really neat is they, at that point, with what's remaining of my life, which looked like about 6 inches long. But when I go back to try and see how long was my life review, I can't. I don't have the memory of it. There's a guide's shoulder blocking my memory of how long it is. So I don't know what 6 inches means, right?
Right, sure.
But in that, I had the opportunity to rearrange different, it looked kind of like fuses along the way. And these fuses were these destiny pieces. And this is where I learned that when we create our blueprint before we come into this life, we create these kind of destiny pieces or fuses of core lessons we want to learn as a soul. And so sometimes those core lessons, like for me, that first one that I got to take out was chronic illness. That chronic illness would be a very important piece for me to maneuver through to gain my lessons and understandings. Right?
I must have that same piece on my board, girl.
Right?
Yes.
That darn piece.
Oh, gosh.
So they said at that point, they're like, you can rearrange whatever you want. And they're like, you won't remember any of them, what they are, except for the first one until they happen. Right? So I remember taking that first one out, which was chronic illness. Like I pulled this fuse out and I'm holding it. I was like, is it really this simple? They're like, yes. I put it down and picked up a different one and plunked it in. And I remember thinking like, all right, we'll see. We'll see. Right? Because like you get so used to when you have chronic illness of different things, always being the one that gets sick first, gets it longest, gets this, that, or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Like, so anyways, after that, then my higher self came forward and was like, do you want to stay or go? And they explained to me that, again, if I wanted to stay, it would be as simple as my body would just have a massive heart attack on the table and they wouldn't revive me. And I was like, no, I want to go. And what was really interesting is I remember so vividly seeing my higher self. And so this is funny because it was very normal there, but sounds funny when I explain it. But there was me.
Okay.
The spirit, I guess.
Yeah.
Then there was my higher self who looked just like me.
Like a mirror version?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I knew it was my higher self staring at me and then my guides. And my higher self was showing me how much she absolutely loved the lifetime I've been living because of everything I'd learned, right? And I could sit there and be like, well, I don't know about this part or maybe this part or, you know. But I could see how much the higher self values a lifetime. Like it is so much more important than we think.
Wow.
And I was just like, well, how could I not go back? Like, I don't want to give up on this lifetime either. Like I've come this far. Imagine how much I could do and accomplish on all of the levels, right? Personally, collectively, all of that. And so, then they were like, okay, well, you know, like if you're going to go back, I kind of made this agreement. I say it was like a deal, but it wasn't a negative. It was just this agreement that if I go back, I would promise to step up and speak about what I know. And, you know, that's when we created Avalon Spirit and created the podcast and all the things.
Oh.
And so then after that, it was just this like instant, I heard the nurse all of a sudden in the recovery room say, Ginette, are you awake? And then I felt my spirit go like whoop, back into my body. And I had my eyes closed still. And like, I've had a couple surgeries before, and when I come out of surgery, the room is bouncing and I can barely speak properly. Like I take a baby Tylenol and I'm done.
You're
right.
not.
So
Right.
the interesting thing was my higher self took over right as she said, Ginette, are you awake? I didn't have my eyes open yet, but my higher self spoke through me to the nurse and was like, I need you to write something down. I need you to write down 4 things. Then I need you to fold it up in the paper or fold up that paper and place it in my hand. They're very important. And I was like hearing my higher self say this. And I was like, wow, that's really clear. So I gave her these like 4 statements that I have in front of me, but they wouldn't really make sense to other people. They were just like keywords.
Sure. To help you probably remember some things from there, right? I'm assuming.
Totally.
Okay.
And so I told her those. She folded it up, put it in my hand. And then I went into recovery, came home, and a couple days later, it was exactly that. I was sitting up one morning, had no more pain meds in my body, very clear in my mind. And my guides were like, you need to read the paper, like that paper. And I was like, okay. So I got it out, I read it, and just like whoosh, all of the memory, the details, everything came back.
Wow.
And that's when I started writing my book, and I just wrote it all out. And that I mean, that's the gist of the experience, but it like rocked my perception of our lives on this planet, even though I was already a medium for like 10 years.
Sure.
It was so much more.
Yeah. I feel like before your NDE, you were kind of like a middleman between here and there, but your NDE like took you to that place and was like, okay, this is it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I really did.
That's such a profound. I'm a visual learner, and as you were speaking, I was getting so many like visuals to what you were saying. It's crazy. I have a persistent question. Is your soul blueprint synonymous with a soul contract, or are those two different things?
I would say they're the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question. Okay. So I would say they're the same thing. However, you can also have soul contracts with people, which are slightly separate from your own soul contract blueprint. So I'm going to say yes and no then, technically.
Fair.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Well, that's the first time I've thought of that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Wow. Cool.
Goodness. I have another question too, but I don't want to like jump the gun and like cut you guys off. Do you guys have a question?
Like I said, I have plenty of questions, but Justin.
Yeah.
Would you like?
Well, I have a couple comments, I guess. Your NDE is very similar to my mom's, and where my mom, when she was in labor with my sister, her mom, who had passed at that point, spoke to her and said, "You have a decision to make. You can either stay here with me or go back and raise, a beautiful little girl."
Wow.
And she obviously chose, my sister, but so that was really similar. When I was listening to your story, it made me think of that. And then also when you said that you were speaking to your higher self, we've heard that also before from somebody else's NDE. That I thought that was pretty profound.
Something that stood out to me that you said also was that you chose right away that you knew right away you had to come back to Earth. We've spoken to so many people that have had NDEs and they were like, hell no, I'm not going back to Earth. I want to stay here.
Right.
They were like, they put their foot down and told God, like, I'm not going back. And like they had a whole back and forth with God about why they really should go back. But
God won.
Yeah, you're very unique to where you were like, no, wait a minute, I'm not done. I got to go. I have things I need to do, you guys. Like, I can't stay here.
Yeah.
I know. I've heard that too a lot, actually. And it is interesting. Now, I'll tell you though, that was the perspective of being on that side. And this is where, I'm going to try and not deviate because I want to answer the question or make a point to that statement. But there is a different perspective when you're on the other side of our humanness, right? And so even when I was in the spirit realm of that, talking to my higher self, I had this like, that bliss, harmonious energy of the value of a human life is amazing, right? Kind of like if you're like, yeah, I want to do this boot camp, it's going to be amazing. But then when you're in the boot camp, you have a different perspective when you're in the boot camp, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I sometimes battle my guides because I'm like, guys, you forget what it's like to be human. The human me is feeling this. I know where you're at. You're feeling this, but there's a difference.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I want to validate that piece, but also say that there was something deeper in me that there wasn't a hesitation of saying, I want to come back. It wasn't even like I'll go back. It was like this instant.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think we've ever really heard that before. That's beautiful.
I think it just was in my blueprint, to be honest. Like, I think they were probably like, we'll give her a potential exit here, but really, let's just hope she wants to come back and talk about it. So, like, there was a deeper vein there.
I do feel like you're here for a big purpose because, I mean, you're, obviously you're helping me and along with many others who resonate with your messages. So, and I also have heard, as far as like when you go into a life, like pre-birth or whatever, that you're super excited about it. In general, I'm talking about in general, like, each of us apparently are super excited about coming into the life. And I guess from that perspective over there, it seems more like exciting, like you're going on a trip and it's just going to be awesome.
Yeah.
It's not the real reality. You know what I mean? We're growing and whatever. And so not whatever, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah.
Did your mediumship and channeling abilities evolve after your near-death experience? Did it change the way you connect with spirit after that?
Definitely did. It got way
Was it an
faster.
easier connection?
Way faster, way faster. It also, I had a greater ability to kind of propel my consciousness into higher realms with more ease. And like astral travel has been easier, higher connection. Like, so each dimensional level that you move up in connection, like if I was to say most, I'm going to generalize here, but most loved ones kind of come down to 5D frequency, 6D frequency when they're communicating, right? So they're up wherever they want to be. And then they kind of lower their frequency, mediums up their frequency. And it's when we hit that match point is when we can communicate, right? And so it was a lot easier for me to just pop up here after and pop up into higher ones as well to connect with different kinds of light beings and you name it. And which brought about more channeling. And I mean, that's a whole different ball game. So yeah, definitely changed it.
It's interesting that you did end up having a near-death experience, which I guess would obviously had been part of your blueprint. I mean, the chronic illness was in there. There was a chip or whatever you said in there, and you removed that. So, but at the same time, it was probably part of the blueprint for you to have this to be a catalyst.
Absolutely.
Doing. So it's just
that aspect of looking at your blueprint and pulling out chunks of things or like an aspect of something and I was visualizing, I don't know if, you probably remember, I don't know if everybody's the same age as everybody else, but anyways, there was that toy in the 80s, I think it was called Light Bright, where it had like all these different colored lights, and you like plug it in and you make a picture. Like that's what I was picturing when you were talking.
Kind of similar to that.
Is it really? Does it like that?
The plunking it in and that kind of click feeling where it lights up is very similar. Yeah.
Wow. I wonder what you replaced chronic illness with. How wild of an idea is that? Like, can I do that? Hey guys, can I please tag out real quick? Like,
It's true. And here's the thing is, when I came back, I was kind of like, yeah, we'll see about this chronic illness thing. Because, I would get sick at everything.
Was it really gone?
Yeah. And that was the interesting thing. Like I noticed when flu season came and my kids would get sick, and normally it was guaranteed I would get the sickest after they were sick. Like, it was a routine, and I wouldn't get the flu, or I would catch a cold, but it would be a tiny cold instead of it turning into pneumonia or something, or like all these different things. And times I didn't even get sick. And it was amazing. And so it was really validated, this change of fuse, that I no longer needed that experience. Doesn't mean I don't catch a sickness, but I don't have the deep chronic catching everything experience anymore.
That's such a
it took me about a year. Yeah, it took me like a year and a bit to really see that was actually valid. Like, but here's the thing. Here's the little sneak peek thing is that we don't have to have an NDE to change out that fuse. What we need to do is really pay attention to the themes and the triggers and the cycles happening within our chronic illness to try and get to the root of the cause, which isn't always just physical, as I'm sure all of you know. What are the energetics behind it? What are the trauma behind it? What are the past life pieces behind it? So many layers, which is what gets so tedious. But once those layers have been completed, that fuse the light goes out and you move on to the next thing.
Because it's actually that we're working on and working through in the lifetime.
Yeah.
And if you ignore it or, it creates illness.
Yeah.
Basically.
Wow.
What's one of the most profound messages you've received or have downloaded since you started your mediumship? If you could...
that was a heavy question out of left field. All right.
Oh, it's good. There's so many. It's more a matter of so many.
Okay.
So, I remember the first time I met ET beings. There's a good one to start.
Ooh, we love ETs around here. Girls, speak on it.
Yeah.
Sure.
That was
I'm sure she can see.
Oh, do you have an ET shirt?
Yeah, it's blending in with the background right now, but it's aliens.
Oh, nice.
It's aliens.
Oh, that's so good.
Yes. They do a UAP UFO news show on UAP Society YouTube.
Yeah, that's what this hat is.
I wondered about that.
We talk about aliens all the time.
We do.
That's great. That's great. So, So the first time that I came across Pleiadians was kind of earlier in my mediumship. I think I'd been doing mediumship for about 2 years. And I remember the first time they came in cloaked. They had like cloaks on, right? And they wouldn't show me their faces. And I called them the 3 monks because they looked like monks.
Okay.
And I was like, why, take your cloak off and let me know who you are. And they said, no, we're not going to do that yet. You're not ready for it. And I remember thinking, 2 years into my mediumship, I know what's going on. I roll there.
Right.
And I was like, no, show me. And they're like, no, you're not ready yet. We would like to introduce ourselves, allow you to get to know us. And so about 3-4 months went by where they were working with me regularly, teaching me stuff, telling me things, and then the things would happen, like building that bond, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And then I remember the day they took their cloaks off, and they were 3 Pleiadians with more of the kind of bluish tinge. Very humanoid looking, though. Like I'm talking humanoid looking, but just bluish. And that at that time, I was so upset because in my mind at the time, I was like, well, there are spirits, there are angels, and then, maybe things I don't know about, but I didn't think of ETs in that same realm and interdimensionals. I hadn't opened up to that.
Oh, okay.
And so I remember I got really upset with them and I was like, thanks so much. Great. You just made me seem crazy. Now I'm a crazy medium who talks to ETs. I quit. Right? And so I quit. I was like, that's it. I quit. And that only lasted about a month or so. But it was about 2 years after that I was comfortable and ready to really kind of explore the ET connection. And
wow, okay.
So that one was really...
I saw that transition because I have been following you for quite a while now, at least 2 or more years, I feel like. I'm not sure. But so yeah, I saw you when you did open up basically more with that. And I just thought it was awesome.
Yeah. So, that happened years ago, but it took me a while before on my channel I would speak about it.
Yeah.
Because, it was, it's so different. I'm sure you all know, even in the last 2 years, the change in conversations about it and openness about it and disclosure and all of that is so different now.
Yeah.
Which is why I recently started Galactic Thursdays, where I talk to my galactics every Thursday and post about it.
Yes.
So anyways, that was a significant one for me early in my mediumship. But then I remember other experiences where, the first time I was able to astral travel somewhere, consciously project my consciousness out of my body and be at a place, blew my mind. It was
isn't it amazing?
Yeah, it was amazing. But I wasn't sleeping. I was awake, and it was actually a dire situation. I'll just caveat really shortly here.
Sure.
Number of years ago, my husband went on this hike, and it was the PCT trail, the John Muir Trail. And he was going by himself. He would be gone for a month. And we had this agreement that he would give me his GPS coordinates every night, just so I knew he was alive and, he'd go on and do his adventure. No big deal.
Sure.
So for the first week, every night, I got this little ping of coordinates. I'm like, okay, he's good. And then the 7th or 8th night, nothing. I'm like, okay, whatever. Next night, nothing. I'm like, that's 2 days now. 3 days go by, nothing. And now I'm starting to get his family asking. And 5 days went by of nothing. So at that point, by the 5th day, I had already called the forest rangers in the States. I had called the cops.
Sure.
I had filed missing persons reports. All of the things. All of the family was terrified something happened to him and that he died and all of this. So it was crazy. So at one point I was like, I need to know if you're alive or not. And I remember I went in to my consciousness and into my pineal gland. And I was like, I need to find him. And my consciousness shot out of my forehead, basically, and went whoosh, through time and space and happened upon him hiking on the top of this ridge in this specific area. I could see him almost through this sort of fisheye lens image. I could see what he was wearing, all of this kind of stuff. And I was like, hey, he's alive. And then the next day he texted me, because he finally got service again and whatever. And I asked him, I was like, hey, yesterday at about this time, were you wearing this? Were you hiking this particular peak? Da, 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 da. And he was like, yeah, I was.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Was he freaked out, or did he just expect that because he knows you by now?
Yeah.
Was it just a normal thing?
Oh, yeah, it's fine.
That's so cool. Wow, that probably put everybody at ease that you were able to do that.
Well, I mean, I was hoping it was accurate because it was so emotionally charged too, though, right? Like,
oh, absolutely. Yeah, sure.
it was one of those, I had to deeply lean into the trust of that experience versus the fear of, oh, I think my husband died, you know?
Right,
Like,
right.
it was a little sketchy, but yeah. So, I mean, there's been so many experiences, so many.
Wow, we actually just recently watched something on Netflix called, what was it, The Lost Child or something? It was like The Lost Child or no, it was probably The Lost Children because there was 4 of them that were lost.
Yeah, that's right.
But basically, there was these 4 kids that were lost in a jungle in South America, and they were gone for a total of 40 days. 40 days. It was like the oldest kid was like 12 years old, and the youngest was literally an infant, like baby in diapers.
They were on a plane
that
crashed going to see their dad, and it crashed.
It crashed, so they got lost in the jungle. The 3 adults that were on the plane passed away, and including it was just these 4 kids by themselves in the middle of the jungle, like for 40 days. And long story short, the reason why I brought this up is because they had all these search teams, military, dogs, helicopters, all this stuff. Nobody could find them. And one of the shamans of the indigenous tribes there did an ayahuasca trip, and he was able to go and find them with his third eye, locate where they were, and he knew exactly what day and what time they were going to reunite. And at that day, at that time, they just literally walked out from behind a bush, and there they were.
Amazing.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Highly recommend anybody watch that show on Netflix.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
time for the shamans to get credit. Mediums also help with that.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Like, let's
it's amazing what our consciousness can do. Like if we allow ourselves the ability to tap into it, we are infinite.
Oh, absolutely.
We're infinite. Yeah. You know, it's amazing.
I love these conversations.
Me too.
So mind expanding.
I was going to mention the Galactic Thursdays, and you also do the Wisdom Wednesdays, but it's basically you do Monday through Friday, tarot pools and or channeling mediumship. Yeah. So I love all of it. I just
that's great.
Today, but you recently had a health challenge, I guess, where you did have an experience with the cedars, which I was anticipating you giving us information on that for a long time. I was just waiting for it, but finally there's something which I actually made a TikTok video out of, just FYI. I found it very moving in a message, but if you wanted to share, if you were willing, I guess, to share with the audience a little bit of basically what Cedar's message was to you and who this are.
Yeah. Yeah, this past summer was probably one of the hardest of my life. I had yet another surgery, hopefully the final surgery. This one was a hysterectomy so that we could finally put to a close my whole experience of, my deep journey through that health issue, which is interesting because I found out that I had placed this experience in my blueprint when I
it was one of those lights, huh?
It was one of those things. And I remember when I was going through the thick of it, because I got very sick after the surgery. Surgery itself went great, but I got like kidney infection, and then my liver was acting up, and my blood sugar couldn't control it. Like just lots, right?
A lot of things.
And I was going through it, and I thought, what the heck is this? And then Spirit's like, well, you put this in your plan so you could get a deeper connection with your body and really understand the body as a third entity. And I was like, what?
Oh.
And it was exactly that. It was this deep, deep journey. But that's a whole other story of itself. So coming back to the cedars. So what was really neat is during this surgery, I had yet another experience, but I didn't have an NDE in this one. There was no point where it was like, do you want to stay or go? But this one, I got to travel to different dimensions. I got to go into the dimension of where the 3 guides of the light are from, which are these guides that I channel often, basically within like the energy of the sun. And I got to go inside to where they are. I got to go to this field where souls go once they're released of karma. And they can then at that point move to anywhere they want to go. I got to go to this other dimension, planet, if you will, where I got to have a conversation with one of the cedars, which is one of the most ancient races of beings that have helped seed the galaxy. Right?
Like an Anunnaki situation or
beyond, before the Anunnaki.
Whoa.
Right? Like they came before the Anunnaki. Like origin.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I got to speak to one of them. She was this female energy, but she spoke to me through this basin of water. It was really neat. It was like this massive, I landed in front of this kind of temple, and there was this massive basin of water, but she spoke to me through the water. And I mean, energies can speak through all things. So in that experience, it was very normal. I could hear her everywhere, yet through the water. Anyways, she explained a lot of different things, allowed me to ask a whole bunch of different questions. But when I asked her specifically about Earth, because of course I'm always so curious, I'm like, what can I share? What do you know? Mm-hmm. This is what she shared. So I'd love to read what she literally shared during that experience. So she said, great forces and those in positions of power are being put in place and have been working towards settlement and renegotiation of galactic alliances. The consciousness on planet Earth is helping it to renegotiate its position, stepping gradually into its position of power on the higher market consciousness. And the higher market consciousness was like bringing humans into the galactic level of being, right? She said humans are transforming in rapid and overlapping successive patterns, like overlaying scales on a fish for smooth transition through water. So too is humanity transforming in such a way that the ripples of one benefits that of the other if they're open to it. This is something we had hoped to see, yet could only be brought to life and consciousness through each and every one of your acts of awakening. It is your willingness that has allowed this transformation to occur. What has been depicted as a horned beast that ruled over your planet has held dominion over your people no longer holds dominion because the frequency of such no longer gives it proper footing. This is a most critical and transformative time for each and every one of you to stand in your truth and your power of who you are. Everything that the three guides of the light have been bringing through has been accurate throughout the progression of your consciousness on the planet. We invite you all to continue to stand in your personal authority with an open and compassionate heart, healing the aspects of selves that require healing in order for you to broaden the bandwidth of your own conscious connection to Source. Through that conscious connection, you will see that all things are connected, past, present, and future. This is a time for you all to be beacons of light, for one beacon alone can only add so much light into the darkness, but thousands and millions gathered together can shine as bright as that of a sunny summer day, adding light and nourishment to everything it touches. This is what you are currently creating on your planet Earth, and those of us in the cosmos could not be more proud and inspired by your deep will and faith in something that many humans still cannot quite see. That something, in its truest essence, is the frequency of love. You all are holding on to love, whether you recognize it or not, and this is your greatest strength. And for this, we applaud you and encourage you to continue doing so day by day.
That is so encouraging and validating. Right?
Yeah.
If the seeders, like the ones that if they're proud of us, then we're doing something right.
Yeah. And, you know, it's so about perspectives because, I mean, there's some obviously on the planet that maybe aren't making them feel so proud, but that's part of the polarity and the duality on our planet. But she was speaking specifically to the people who are conscious and aware and opening their minds in all of the ways, not even just simply like spiritual to become mediums or channelers, but even those that are like innovating and making new creations to better the planet. Like all of those things is what she was highlighting in that, which I thought too, I'm like, wow, that's so nice to hear.
Yeah, it makes it seem like it's a really, I say this all the time, like almost every show. Right. It's an exciting time to be alive, it seems like. I mean, like, when you're looking at it strictly from the human perspective, it's like, God, man, what the hell is going on around here? But when you hear from, like, the seeders and you look at it from the galactic perspective of the zoomed out overall big picture here, we came for a very important time on Earth, and I'm honored to be amongst people like you guys that are like holding down the light, like freaking literally holding down the light, right?
But not just holding it down, but expanding it.
Yeah, and, that's why we do
bringing
the
it
show.
to so
that's
many people, right?
Yeah,
right. And stigma reduction has been so important over the last couple of years, and I think that us just having conversations like this helps reduce the stigma talking about this stuff, and helps spread the awareness to people that, you know, are not aware yet.
Normalize it, really,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
thank you for everything that
Thank
you're doing.
you for sharing that. And I feel like since we're talking about the things that we're doing to help create these ripples, can you do me a favor and tell our audience where they can find you? Let's hear about your website, your YouTube, what are your services?
Yeah.
Like, let them know where they can find you and what you're up to.
Sure. So the website is avalonspirit.com. And on there, I have different courses available to help people open their consciousness. There's from like level 1 to, you know, how do you connect to your spirit guides? There's a Lightworker mentorship level 1, all the way up to like a 12-week weekly in-depth training from opening your clairs to how do we astral travel and astral project and talk to ETs. Right. So I have
whole gamut.
the whole thing. It's like whatever you want, I'm willing. I'm ready to dive in. And there's other courses. And of course, Cosmic Consciousness is one of my most favorite. Once a month, I host Cosmic Consciousness. And it's a topic given to me by my guides about anything. It's like we've gone into the consciousness of water and described it and explained it. I've talked about golden light consciousness on the planet. I've talked about different ET beings on it. I've talked about the Merkaba. It is my most favorite, I think, is Cosmic Consciousness. So there's that. Okay. And then people can find me on YouTube, GinetteBiro.medium, Ginette Biro Medium on YouTube, where I do weekly, daily videos. And then the podcast.
Everybody should. I said I highly recommend. Everybody should check.
Thanks. That's so nice. Yeah. And then my podcast, the Ginette Biro podcast, once a week, where, you know, interviews, or I do a monthly energy update, and it's just so much to share, you know?
Yeah.
So just like all of you, it's so much to share. So
that's so amazing. You're doing so many cool things. And Leslie posts your videos. We have a Discord server, and every single day, every morning, I wake up to your daily card reading.
Amazing.
So like you're literally in our lives like every day. I don't know if that sounds weird to say or whatever, but like you are. So there's that.
I'm so honored. Truly. Like I really am honored. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And it goes beyond me. Like it's more, even the guides are like, thank you, because really I'm sharing what they're sharing. And so for you sharing what I'm sharing, you're sharing what they're sharing, which just like, that's
ripples, right? Yep. And I think it's so cool that your website, Avalon Spirit, was born out of your NDE. You know, we've already spoken to your partners, Lisa and Elise. They were very fun to talk to. So I just feel like we're doing the work, you guys. I'm so proud of us.
Yeah.
And then we also do the Spirit Coffee Talk, which is on
on Fridays.
That's another YouTube channel on Avalon Spirit.
Yeah.
Is that right? Did I say
that? Avalon Spirit YouTube channel. Yeah, with Elise and Lisa every Friday we gab about all things spirit, anything and everything.
Right.
It's so fun.
I'll kind of touch on the current energies, but then you'll also expand on like different topics as well. So I guess, but that's fun to watch too. So
thanks.
Yeah.
We talk about the consciousness of water a lot on this show. Yeah. We're very big
Dr. Emoto.
on the Dr. Emoto situation. And there was recently another one. And oh my gosh, I'm so mad at myself. I can't remember the name. But basically she was doing a water experiment where she would put water, like she would write the word milk down on a piece of paper and put water over it and then freeze the water, and somehow the water like formed the shape of a breast, and like then it did like a flower. Anyway,
I'd like to introduce you to the idea of water as an intelligent designer. Here I exposed water to my friend's photo, removed and froze using a special method, and it designed her face. I showed the ice result to the water, and it designed a negative of her face. I briefly placed my thumb in the water and then froze it, and water designed a thumb with a chip in the nail. I chipped my nail in exactly the same place 3 hours later. Here I used a conceptual word of ego. It's a word I have no visual for, which removes any mental projection, and water designed a person with big shoulders, a small face, and a giant balloon head. I used the word milk as an influence, and water designed a breast. I wasn't thinking of human milk, so this was a surprise. You notice that the ice designs are not photocopies of the influence, but more of an interpretation, and to me, this is clear display of some kind of awareness. I honestly don't think we know what water really is yet.
So we're really big on the consciousness of water.
That's right. Yeah,
what can you share with us that you've learned about the consciousness of water? Because the planet is made mostly of water. Our bodies are made mostly of water. It retains consciousness. Speak on it.
Water. Water is one of my most favorite things.
Is it really? Tell me why.
Like, honestly, you would think I'm a water sign. I'm not. I'm an air sign, but...
Me too.
Are you? Yeah?
Aquarius, yeah.
All right. So, okay, water. The most beautiful thing where I want to start with water is the thing that makes it so amazing is it has the capacity to hold memory, right? Water, as you all know, water can hold memory, and water has been moving through our planet for eons. Water has moved through trees, people, oceans, rivers, underground, like animals. It has picked up so much memory. It's like the internet on fire, you know? And it has so much it can tap into, and it also has so much that we can tap into consciousness. Like, for one thing, for example, I get so many insights when I'm in the shower or the bath. Is my favorite place to channel insights, because the water becomes this like conduit. And I've even started to have, which for some people might sound really crazy, but have conversations with the water the same way I would a spirit. And I would ask the water, can you give me insights on either this time period, this thing that happened, whatever. And I can start to get images and insights and such through that. Now, whether that's a connection with spirit or the water, essentially to me, it's one and the same, because water has this capacity to hold this memory. And the reason why I pause there is Spirit's reminding me, it's all in the bonds between particles. So I'm going to see if I can explain this properly.
I failed chemistry. Please do it well.
Right? So between all particles of anything, right, within water, within our body, within, tangible things in our reality, there are things that hold those particles together, that make it real, right? Like, that makes my cup solid is because there are bonds that hold it together. And those bonds are the ether.
Okay.
Right? And the ether is the movable piece between the bonds, which in our reality is more rigid, right? Which is what makes things tangible. But when you go higher into dimensional frequency, you can change the ether bonds. Just like if you pour sugar on a speaker and you play different frequencies, it changes the design that the sugar is, right? You're changing
talk about
the
that too,
ether.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that ether is what's changing the bonds. And so when you change the frequential nature of water through the ether bond, you can unlock memory, insight, information, and such. And water has a consciousness that's willing to do that if you're willing to tap into it.
That is amazing.
Yeah. And so I have to share this really cool experience if I can.
Please. I was going to ask you, yes.
Yeah, with water. So I remember one time I was drawn to go up to Whistler, BC. And it's nice and beautiful up in the mountains, and to go to this lake, and it was fall time. So like fall time is freezing to me because it's rainy and cold and like windy, and I need hot tropical weather, right? Like we talked about before.
Yeah.
So anyways, we go up there, and I was drawn to this lake to help change the frequency of this lake. And at first I was thinking, like, me? Like, what do you want me to change? How am I going to change the frequency of the lake? And they're like, just trust the process. And so on the way up there, we stopped at this river. This was all just intuitively led. I put my hand in the river, and I started having a conversation with the water in the river. And I asked for permission if I could merge with the water. And the river was like, yes, you're granted permission. And I was like, what's happening? So then we carry on, and we get to the lake. And all of a sudden, I'm at this lake. And again, like, I am not one to swim in cold water. Everyone with the like cold plunging, I can't do that. That's like, I can't.
Same.
All of a sudden, I'm like, I need to swim out to the middle of this lake. And so I pull off most of my clothes, walk into the water, and just start swimming out to the middle of this lake. And like, I couldn't fully feel the cold, which I was even like, how am I not feeling the cold? Like, what is happening here?
Right.
And Spirit was like, it was like the spirit of the land was like, lay on your back. And so I laid on my back like a floating starfish in the middle of the lake, staring at the sky. And they're like, we want you to learn how to merge with the water. And what I learned was this process of just like taking away any limitation of my perception of my physical body and allowing it to merge with whatever frequency is around me. And that's when you become one with something, right? So at that point, I couldn't tell the difference between the water and my body at all.
Wow.
And it wasn't because I was freezing, it was cold water, but it's not like I came out blue, right? So I merged with the water, and then they were like, put your essence into this water. And I was like, well, like how? Like, what do I do? And they're like, think of the things that bring you to the most like pure joy, bliss, all that kind of stuff. And so I just thought of all of those things, which changed the ether bonds in my body, which rippled out because I was one with the water, changed the ether bonds of the water.
Wow.
Yeah. It was this amazing like merging with the lake. And so once that was complete, craziest thing happened. I was like, hey, this is amazing. I'm going to go back in. Something came and swam up and touched my toe and then like swam away. But it wasn't like a fish would normally just kind of like flit. Oh, sorry. It was probably really out. A fish would like flit past your foot or something like that. It was this like, it's complete. And something came and like touched my toe. It was probably an eel or something. And then I swam ashore, and then I was freezing after I got out of the water and was like, what just happened? But it was this amazing ability to merge with water, where we become one with. And it was an example of how we can do that in any situation, whether it's water, whether it's the land, people.
That is very synchronistic because, you know, I'm aware of your interest, it's not interest, but the knowing of water and its amazingness and what it does for us, and it's just a part of us, and it's a part of everything. But so yes, I was having a moment in the shower today, and you were speaking of being in the shower, but like I was thinking of water, and you know, it goes through so much. Yes, it does all that. It goes through everything, but it also goes through a lot of processes, man-made, you know, chemicals, all this stuff. So I was imagining like the water flowing onto me, and I was almost like giving the earth energy, you know, back to the water. Mm-hmm. Like instead of the water given to me, I was given to the water in the shower.
Totally. You totally can. And you can transmute the negativity or the whatever in the water.
Goes down and does, you know, can.
Yeah. I feel so stupid because I feel like my cheeks are frozen. I love this conversation.
Right. Yeah.
I'm so glad. I could talk about these things forever.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like I'm learning so much.
So Leslie, so you were given the water like energy and positive vibes so that it could then go out and spread those positive vibes and energy to other people and other things.
Right.
That's
just
what I just imagined.
The water along its way and its journey of creation, basically. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, that's so cool.
You're so awesome. That's so beautiful. We also are big advocates for like speaking love into your water, and like we write affirmations on our water bottles and stuff. Yeah, we talk about all these things.
Yeah, it's so true. Mm-hmm. It's so true.
Oh, wow. One of my questions had to do with like, what is there any? Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. Oh, well, many believe water holds memory, which Allie had touched on, and can be programmed with intentions. Do you have any personal practices or insights for working with water in this way?
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely writing on a water bottle or speaking into it for sure. Like I tend to, when I have a cup of tea or water and it's really warm, I'll just kind of look at it and then speak what I'm wanting, and also imagine it coming through my hands into the cup. I have like a moment. I have a sacred morning moment that I do every morning. And it used to be coffee. It used to be with my coffee. But now it's with my tea because I don't drink coffee anymore. Well, caffeinated coffee anyway. Okay. Anyways, and I will speak gratitude into my water about my life every morning. And it starts my day that way. I'll speak it into the water, I'll drink it, and I'll feel it move through my body. It takes me 30 seconds, but it's like this integral part of my day that I do all the time. Yeah. And that's whether it's like tea, water, like that's kind of all I drink anyway is tea and water, but like kind of doesn't matter what it is. And you can do the same with food, right? You can even transmute the energy of food sometimes, even if Like, I remember there was one time I was traveling and I was in Germany. It was like 2 a.m. and the only place open was McDonald's. And I mean, whatever people like to eat is fine. There's no judgment. For me, McDonald's often upsets my whole digestive system. But I was starving. I'm like, I need something. And so I got some fries. And I remember I sat there at like 2 a.m. by myself and I prayed over my fries. And I was like, thank you for being this source of nutrients that I can have right now because I need something. And so I'm adding all the extra energy for you to really bond and merge with my body. Thank you for this. And I remember eating it and I was fine.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, who knew? You know,
the power of intention is so strong. And I also created like this little coffee ritual thing that I do in the morning every time I'm making our coffee.
Yeah, she does it for me.
I'm stirring it. I say, like, in my head, I'm like, oh gosh, what do I say? Oh, stirring in good intentions for the day, make all problems and pain go away. Love, 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 guidance from above.
Love that.
I don't know.
Fantastic.
It's I feel like a little coffee witch, you know. I'm just like, hey.
I know it feels like that, right?
Yeah.
It is sacred.
I just want to transmute it because we spoke with somebody, her name was Mama Zuma, and she taught us this whole lesson about coffee and how it has these bad soul contracts attached to it due to the slavery of the plant and the people that anyway, it was this whole thing. So I was like, okay, so we need to transmute the coffee is what I'm hearing. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm drinking moon water from the most recent
full super moon water.
Yeah.
Very nice. And from the beaver moon.
Yeah, and I write the intent affirmations on the jars and all that. So
amazing.
And then when I get water that's, you know, not moon water, just from the filtered water or whatever, but I bless that. Well, I wouldn't say bless it. I get basically tell it thank you and then I love you. You know, I literally talk to the water like it's my friend.
Yeah.
I love it.
You have to.
Gratitude is the highest form of yoga. That's what they say anyways.
Yeah,
Ginette, you have had an amazing life full of travel and music and spirit work and awards. If you could give one piece of advice to someone who's like just starting out on the spiritual journey, where they're like just starting to dip their toes into the water, pun intended, what piece of advice would you give them?
I would say stay curious and judge nothing.
Ooh.
Don't judge it. Be curious. It doesn't have to align with you, but be curious about it. Let it be a piece of wisdom that you gain. It doesn't have to become a part of your, you know, your core value or moral standard, but be curious about it because all of the information you can take in will help validate what you really are about.
I love that.
I love that too.
That's a really good piece of advice.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Ask her your famous question.
Okay. All right. What is your greatest hope for the future of humanity?
Oh, man. That's a great question. Yeah, I have so much hope for humanity.
I love that.
I know some people sometimes are like, you know, how do you speak of you make everything so positive and this and that? And it's like, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? You know, why not? It's become a thing that I do is I will try and put a positive spin, change my perspective anytime I can. Even like when I was so sick and I was in the emergency at one point for like 12 hours, so sick. And I remember sitting there being like, what would be worse than this? I'm like, well, being in labor was worse than this. I'm like, so I'd rather have this than labor. Well, then I'm grateful that I'm not in labor right now. This is okay because labor was worse. So, you know, like I can't wait until humanity can get to a point where compassion and kindness supersedes sadness and selfishness. Because I think people are selfish because they're sad, they're hurt, they're alone. Yeah. They're not selfish because they truly want to be. They're lacking. And so I can't wait until humanity is at a point where enough people are healed that they can choose compassion and kindness over selfishness and greed.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that, it's happening. I do see that happening, and it's because of people like you and even people like us. We may not, you know, have all experiences, but we're trying to share that with others because we're open to it. And I just lost track of what I was trying to say, but It totally went. It totally left. But anyway,
Okay.
so I'm trying to grab it back. But yes, basically, oh yeah, the positive, your positivity. I mean, your energy, basically, that you exude is just amazing, you know. And it's just it's hopeful, and it's, you know, it's the opposite of what's shoved in everybody's faces every day on the news and whatever else. It's like fear mongering constantly, and that takes over people and their thoughts. And I don't know, but I think more and more people are gonna realize, you know, who we really are, and that we are eternal spiritual beings having a temporary human experience. And we do have spirit, you know, teams and guides and angels and even galactic, you know, friends or family or whatever you want to call it, you know, out there, extended, and we are, I guess, all one when it comes down to it. And from what I've learned through all my experiences, but anyway, I just really appreciate you, Ginette, and I've been waiting for this chat with you for a while. We've had it on the books, but so thank you for being here and sharing your light with everyone.
Yeah,
I'm so honored.
What she said.
What she said. Mic drop. I'm so honored.
Is there like a persistent message that has been coming through, whether it be the ET guides or the spirit guides or the cedar? Like, what is there a persistent message that you're hearing a lot lately that you feel like the audience should know?
Yeah, a big theme this year has been about our bodies coming online, and us barely. So, okay, we've been going through the journey of the mind a lot, right? Get to know your mind. What do you think? How do you discern? All of that, right? It's been about exploring the mind. We've also been exploring our spirit, our spiritual connection, you know, realizing we're connected to something more. We've kind of missed the point or missed the boat of the value of the body. The body is so much more than a vehicle. Like that statement of the body is a vehicle, which I used to use years ago too, like I did. But the body is not a vehicle. The body is a consciousness also. It is the third part of the Trinity. Mind,
you mentioned
body,
that
spirit.
earlier. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is an important part that has, yes, exactly. Exactly. We need to bring the body into the conversations that we bring the mind and the spirit into. We need to sit with the three parts at the table, this metaphorical table. Mm-hmm. Allow the body to speak, because if we allow the body to speak, the body is where a lot of the magic can come through us into this reality. The body needs its opportunity. And so the more that we can move into healing the body in all of the ways, right? Through the physical issues, through the triggers, the emotional issues, allow the body to speak, see what it has to say, bring it to the table, because then that's when we become powerhouses. Like that's when eventually levitation happens. That's when we can spark fire from our fingertips. That's when the body can be the conduit to the crazy magic available to us. So tapping into the insights of the body is a big, big theme.
I love that.
We're on this movement towards all that, and it's super exciting. So that's, yeah. I feel like one thing that you do mention, I guess from your near-death experience, but you got this information somewhere or just through your guides, but that 2020 to 2024 was going to be 100, was it 100 years?
100 years of growth in the span of 4 years.
And I feel that. I totally feel that. Like
100 years of growth in a span of 4 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. They concentrated those lessons, huh? Wow. Okay, cool. And Pluto just entered Aquarius, so that's going to shift a whole lot of things around, because Pluto is the war planet, and if Pluto is entering the love age of Aquarius, that's going to shift a whole lot of things. Bring on the divine femininity!
Yes, right? That's been another theme. There's a lot of divine feminine energy out there right now, trying to bring in nurturing energy for people. There is so much to look forward to in 2025 up into 2028, even that 3-year span, highly transformative with a flare of good. Doesn't mean easy transformation, but like the growth side of transformation versus simply destruction side.
Okay.
I love that you gave us
on the spot. You have a beautiful voice, and I was thinking about singing The Age of Aquarius, like one of the little lines, but which you'd be the one to do that.
Don't ask me to sing. I mean, y'all heard
I
me
can't sing either.
Y'all heard me sing.
Oh my God. I suck at singing under pressure, which is hilarious because I used to be a singer. But
I can't think of the line when I tried to, but I was like, oh, but Ginette's a singer.
No, if I knew it, I probably would.
I could ask you if there's anything from spirit or anything that is coming through that you would like to share with our viewers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, any last pieces of advice? Because we are running out of time, unfortunately.
Okay. Let me ask them. I'll see if it's a channel or just mediumship. Just give me 2 seconds to close.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's a room full of them already, so that's cool.
Yay! They're here for us. Woohoo!
Okay, this is interesting. They're coming through in mediumship. They're not going to channel. I want to. They're like, you're not ready yet.
Okay.
Okay, so they said the speed of transformation is going to pick up really fast. And the key to allow that to happen is not to be hung up on how fast things are happening. So, you know, when like things start to change and we have those conversations where we're like, everything's just happening so fast, right?
Yeah.
You know, those
Yeah.
moments in your
Oh,
life
yeah.
where like, oh my gosh, when that's happening, we're getting caught up in the fact that it's happening fast.
Okay.
Right. And that actually blocks us in the flow of things happening. So they're saying when you catch yourself in the moment of things are happening so fast, simply pull back from it and just observe what's happening because it's meant to transform fast. And we don't want to get it stuck by almost throwing ourselves into the panic of, oh my gosh, it's happening so fast. It's like, yes, it's happening fast. It's happening fast.
Okay.
And so it is. Right.
Yeah.
They're saying really try and change our perspectives. Like these little things that we do to events or things that happen. They're like, notice if it's serving you anymore in this new frequency, because many of the things are not going to be. So check the narrative connected with the perspective to embrace the transformation.
Oh,
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, Ginette, you have been amazing. Oh my God, you've taught. I've got so many like visual things going on in my head. I feel like I've learned so much stuff. You've given us so much stuff to look forward to, so many tools to use in the now moment. Oh
Yeah,
man, this was
yeah.
awesome. I feel so honored to have you on as a guest. Like truly,
Aw.
I don't say that to everybody, so when I say it, I mean it.
I appreciate that. Thank
No,
you so
really.
much for
Thank
having me.
you.
And
Absolutely.
I just correlated that message to what's going on with my job right now and the new job that I applied for. And
Oh, okay. He's got some personal things going on with that.
Yes,
Cool.
that was a good
Correlated to my
message for me.
personal life too. I mean, it's
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was a
And
good
I
Very
message.
cool. Excellent. Thank you so much for spending your time with us, Ginette. Is there anything else you want to say before we close out?
No, I'm just thank you to everyone that's listening, and that, you know, if there's one little nugget in something I shared that helps you on your way, I'm honored and I'm so glad. So thank you for giving me the space to share it.
Oh man, thank
Oh,
you so much, and
absolutely.
you are welcome to come on anytime you'd like to. Trust me, I got that. You have the link. You can use it whenever you'd like.
Yeah.
And for
That's
our
great.
audience that's sticking around, please do us a favor and smash that like button. Click subscribe, ring our little notification bell, drop a lovely comment down below, and share this video with your family and friends to help us spread the good word.
All right.
Much love, peace, and namaste. Wow, we just did that backwards, but that's okay. That's
Oh, we
okay.
did? Oh, whoops.
we said namaste instead of namaste.
All right, do it again. Much
yeah.
love. Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Much love, peace, and namaste. There we
There we go.
go.
I did it.
Oh my gosh, I can't even with myself right now.
Awesome.